So, you probably know this by now, but Season 22 Blu-ray collection has finally arrived. After 6 months of waiting, we finally have it in our grubby little protuberances. I will admit, I am surprised that out of all the sets to be released, this was the next one to get the Blu-ray treatment. Considering the reputation this one gets in particular, but I for one am glad that this part of the show's history is finally getting some recognition. So is this set worth your time and money? Or should it just be thrown into the time lash for all eternity? Find out what I think as we get through the unboxing. Hello and welcome back to a very special improv unboxing. I've really never done one of these before and I thought, why not? Also, it's one of the most talked about subjects at this very moment and I thought I'd give my 2 cents on the subject. You may have guessed in the intro of the title card, it is of course a very expensive and very exclusive Blu-ray collection set of Doctor Who Season 22, which was actually Colin Baker's first season that made its debut in 1985, if you didn't know. Now, as I said before the intro, there was a lot of backlash at this time with Doctor Who due to the overall cheapness of the show, as well as the standards dropping in the previous years. The Sixth Doctor's introduction story wasn't considered the greatest by fans or the best story in the world. That is a story for another day, unfortunately. I'm not going to discuss that here. I would argue to say that this season in particular was the most experimental when it came to some of the themes seen throughout the stories, but due to some of the heavy content shown during this time, it led to the show's hiatus, which then led to the uproar by fans in the Whovian kingdom. But with all that out of the way, let's actually take a look at the set itself instead of this video becoming a history lesson. As ever, you have this beautiful artwork done by Lee Binding, depicting some visuals of the villains that would appear in this particular season. You also have the Sixth Doctor as the main focal point, as he holds his tracker device, as seen in Attack of the Cybermen. On the side, you also have the same piece of artwork that has been shrunken down with the current logo and some text stating that this set is Season 22. On the back, you also have some details of what is in this set, such as the various stories that are in the season. It also states that all 13 episodes have been newly restored for Blu-ray and are packed with brand new extra material. We have also got extended episodes of Vengeance of Varos, Part 1 and 2, The Two Doctors Part 1, and Revelation of the Daleks Part 1, which is very exciting. I really can't wait to watch those. You also have the 6 new episodes of Behind the Sofa, which I really can't wait to see, as I believe these are the main highlights of these box sets. We also have some making of documentaries that were featured on the DVDs, but a new exclusive documentary for the Two Doctors, which I really can't wait to see, as that is one of my all-time favourite multi-Doctor stories. A revisit of some of the Season 22 locations starring Nicola Bryant and Colin Baker, which was leaked on Twitter, where we did see Colin wearing his morning cape from Revelation of the Daleks. We also have 3 new in-conversation interviews conducted by Matthew Sweet, starring Colin Baker, Nicola Bryant and the infamous Michael Grade, which will be very interesting to see as he openly voiced his opinion about the show and science fiction in general, as well as wanting to cancel the show altogether. So I really can't wait to see what he has to say. We also have new audio commentary on Revelation of the Daleks, the mini episode that we saw at the beginning of the year with Nicola Bryant, rare behind-the-scenes studio footage from Vengeance on Varos and the Two Doctors, The Time Lash, and Revelation of the Daleks, exclusive archive treats, a treasure trove of previous unavailable content from the BBC archives, which is something I'm definitely looking forward to, as it most likely means we're going to be getting to see some old interviews and television appearances that may have not seen the day of light for the past 30 odd years. Immerse 5.1 surround sound, which includes a brand new mix on Attack of the Cybermen, which is just really cool. You've got Slipback, which was an audio drama produced back in 1985, and it later became a book written by Eric Saywood, which is something I may give a listen to when I've got the time to do so. And finally, some PDF written documents, which includes scripts, production documents, as well as some more archive material. On the bottom, it also states that each disc features extensive special features that were released on the DVDs, including documentaries, featurettes, and audio commentaries, and info, text, etc, etc. As well as that, you also have some legal jargon, blah, 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 and some film info to tell you about the ratios of the frame sizing of each bit of media. And that's about it with the slipcover. Removing the sleeves shows off some detail of the artwork on the back. You also have the TARDIS, which has been turned into the cabinet, which is a nice change instead of having another version of a police box. And to finish off the artwork, the whole case has this beautiful, colourful time vortex surrounding the Doctor and the villains on the front, and it just looks superb because this season is also very colourful. It's definitely the icing on the cake, and I must admit it's definitely one of the greatest bits of artwork that I've seen throughout these sets. Opening up the box, you have some more lovely artwork on the right-hand side, which features the Doctor, Perry, and the TARDIS on Necros. And I love how they've included the dodgy lamp that was featured, as they had to cobble one together, as they forgot the actual version, so they had to make one up for the filming location for Revelation. You also have a Necros Dalek skulking in the background, which is also a nice touch. I didn't see it at first, but it's a really cool detail. Opening up the little cover, you also have some lovely artwork of the Doctor and Perry looking a bit concerned, as there is some Sontarans aiming weapons at them. And then sliding those two pieces up, you have this little book, as well as a little pamphlet advertising what Doctor Who stuff you can waste your money on. On the side of that, the artwork continues as you get the TARDIS console, which is different for each release. This time it's based on the appearance from Attack of the Cybermen. You have one of the roundels missing, as well as a Cyber Scout that is appearing through the door. As well as that, you have Halley's Comet, which was another thing that appeared in Attack of the Cybermen. I do love that each box set has its own little design on each release, as it just makes it a little bit more special rather than just having the same artwork of the 80s console room on each of the 80s sets, for example, and the same on the 70s sets. Taking a brief look at the book itself, you have an introduction as well as some additional information about each disc that comes within the set. You also have some production information about each story, but I won't go into much detail here. If you have it, you can have a read yourself. You also have some more additional artwork for each story, and then on the back you have a promotional image of Colin Baker as the 6th Doctor, which is really nice. It just looks so cool. So now to the main attraction, which is the discs. Oh boy, I bet you're looking forward to this as much as I am. First of all, you have Attack of the Cybermen, which I must admit does get a lot of shtick, but I would definitely take this over Silver Nemesis, mind you. And I do love the little side plot with Bates and Stratton decapitating Cybermen just for their own survival. So yeah, it's a good story. You also have the legendary Vengeance on Varos, which I think is one of the greatest 6th Doctor stories of all time. It's very 1984-esque with the Governor, as well as the interesting concepts of some of the TV shows that the civilization gets to watch on their televisions. I know there was a lot of controversy for this story due to the violent nature, but I'm a stickler when it comes to violent films and TV, so it doesn't really bother me, unlike some people. Up next, we have Mark of the Rani, which is alright. I never really got on with the story the first time around, as I found the plot to be a bit convoluted, in my opinion. Mind you, the last time I willingly watched this story was about 4 or 5 years ago, so my opinion may have changed when I rewatch it. But one thing I do enjoy from this story was the Rani, as Kate O'Mara played the character so well, and I must admit it was a fine introduction for her character in the story. Up next, you have The Two Doctors, which has to be my favourite story from season 22. I remember seeing this back on the day when you could literally upload anything onto YouTube, and this was how I first experienced the story. I loved that the location was shot in Seville, and bringing back the 2nd Doctor and Jamie was just brilliant. It was like they never left. I will admit, as a kid, I did find it very confusing that the 2nd Doctor's hair was grey, but by the looks of things, I wasn't the only one. The only downside to the story was the Sontarans, as they weren't really given much to do, apart from getting killed by Cassini in the latter half. It was a shame how they went out of the classic series like that, as they are my favourite monsters in the show's history. I also loved the interactions between Colin and Patrick Troughton, as I thought their personalities bouncing off one another was just amazing to see. It was just a shame that this was the last appearance of the 2nd Doctor due to Patrick Troughton's untimely death the following year. I also love Shockeye demanding how desperate he was to eat a human. I mean, What a creepy thing to put in a family show, an alien cannibal who craves human flesh. But overall, I think it is one of my favourite multi-Doctor stories. Up next you have the Time Lash, which, well, it exists. That's all I can really say. Nah, but for real, this was one of the stories that I only have a vague memory of, as I've only ever watched this story twice. The only memory I do hold was Paul Darrow's attempts to overperform Colin Baker's performance.
Call the police! My wife has been murdered!
And yeah, this was definitely the dud of the season. From what I can remember back in the day, it was overcomplicated. For some reason, the third Doctor wants to travel back to that planet, and you have the cave drawing of the Chad himself. As well as that, you have the Borad that looked like something out of a child's nightmare. But I suppose I better give this a rewatch considering how much this set costs, but I will be taking my time before I have to. The final story from this set is, of course, Revelation of the Daleks, which is pretty good. I remember this being my first 6th Doctor story that I ever watched, and I remember enjoying it at the time. This is probably the one that I remember more, considering the number of times that I've actually watched this story. Again, very, very morbid and full of body horror, with Davros creating a new Dalek army using the bodies of the dead, as well as defeating the population dead relatives, which is again very morbid. I literally cannot wait to watch this, and as far as I'm aware, my partner hasn't seen this story, so can't wait to see what she thinks. Also, if you remove the final disc, you also have another image of the 6th Doctor grinning like a maniac. So, overall, should you buy this set? Well, yeah, why wouldn't you? I will honestly say that this season isn't as bad as fans made it out to be all those years ago. It has to be by far one of my favourable seasons to watch in my opinion. I'm so glad that this has been given a release this soon into the collection of box sets, as I was surprised it wasn't something more like season 9 or 13. But the thing is with these sets is that people like Chris Chapman and Lee Binding always keep you guessing. Hell, it could be season 20 that we could be seeing next, and then suddenly they announce a season that no one thought would actually happen this soon. Even though the main reason people buy these sets is because of the special features, but some other fans do buy these just to experience these stories for the first time. But I mainly collect these for the special features myself, as well as some of the new documentaries done by Chris Chapman. Literally, the man is such a talented guy and I don't think he gets much appraisal. Now, as for recommendation to where to buy this set, the last few I've got were from HMV, and so far they've been pretty reliable when it comes to delivering these sets. I would suggest on getting it from there. If not, you've got Zavvi, who also sell this, as well as Amazon Prime, and from what I've been told, they are pretty reliable as well. And that pretty much wraps up this video. If you like this little improv boxing, then I highly recommend subscribing to the channel. Also, giving it a like would really help. And if you want to voice your opinion, then comment down below on what you really think of this season on a whole. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and bye for now.